Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a box I don't think I've talked about yet. Believe it or not, there are many more that I haven't than those that I have, even though we've done more than 3,000 videos. Holy crap, it's incredible. All right, it's Masterworks of the 20th Century on Sony. 10 budget CDs full of music you've never heard of by people you've never heard of, with not a single word of notes or text or explanation of any of it. That makes it just so much more intriguing and mysterious, doesn't it? Actually, I just checked on Amazon and there are like a few used copies still kicking around. It shouldn't be too hard to get. You wouldn't think they would have sold that many. It fascinates me what they do. I mean, they issued, all of this stuff. They gathered it together kind of at random, shoved it into a box, issued it with, of course, no fanfare, no promotion, no nothing to tell you what it is or what's in it. They assume that the fans of these people already know, and of course some of us do, but at least we know some of it. I don't know anybody who knows like all of this. And we're just going to go through it disc by disc so you can find out all of the like mysterious contents. All right. So disc one, well, this one's pretty clear. It's dedicated to Pierre Boulez. Yes, our favorite composer. And you get Le Marteau sans Maître, one of his major works, of course, and the Livre pour corps, the book for strings, with Yvonne Mitten and the various people conducted by Pierre Boulez himself. This is an iconic and classic Boulez recording. It really is, for those of you who like Boulez, of course. And it certainly belongs in there. Oh, are these masterworks? Well, I mean, that sort of is a contradiction in terms, isn't it, when it comes to modern stuff. But if you wanted to know where the 60s and 70s avant-garde was, this is actually a pretty good but somewhat random collection. So disc two is Takemitsu. I mean, this is wonderful. You get Asterism for piano and orchestra, the Requiem for string orchestra, Green, and the Dorian Horizon for 17 strings. This is all with Ozawa and the Toronto Symphony. It's another really sort of iconic Takemitsu disc, especially back when he was just being discovered, out here in the West and probably in Japan too, quite frankly. So there you go. That's disc two. So far, so good. Now we have Stravinsky's Agon and the Gunther Schuller 7 Studies of Themes by Paul Klee. This is kind of fun. This was a Boston Symphony Leinsdorf disc, one of their forays into contemporary music, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's Boston Symphony and Leinsdorf, and it was on RCA actually at the time, so that's pretty cool. I mean, those are good pieces. That's nice to have. And we don't need too much explanation about what this stuff is. At least those are people who some of us may have heard of. Charles Ives. Oh, yay! The Concord Sonata with John Kirkpatrick, along with the Ives performance of excerpts from the Concord Sonata. So that's really, really great. I mean, totally 20th century masterpiece and an iconic performance of it. So 4 fabulous discs, which are now unavailable, of course, at least unavailable in this collection, in this box. George Crumb, yay! Night of the Voice of the Whale, Night of the Four Moons, and Macrocosmos Volume 2, with the Aeolian chamber players and like all other kinds of famous people. And Jan de Gaetani singing. I mean, again, these are, yes. So 5 terrific discs. And then 6 terrific discs. Oh my God. It just keeps getting better. Harry Partch, The World of Harry Partch. Now, Harry Partch, for those of you who don't know, invented his own tuning systems, consisting of like billions of micro intervals and instruments that play them. So you could only play his music with his own ensemble and his own instruments. Most of what he did was theatrical music, Greek myth type things. And here we have, Daphne of the Dunes and Castor and Pollux. And he's got like funny names for things, the Mazda marimba and the surrogate kithara, and, Chromelodion 1, and it's really kind of nifty. Barstow is his most famous piece, and it's on here. Thank goodness. These are 8 hitchhiker inscriptions from a highway railing at Barstow, California. Totally awesome. with Harry Partch performing it. That's totally great. Let's see. So 6 fabulous discs. Well, now things get a little weirder. They get to be sort of mashup collections. Pauline Oliveros, Sound Patterns, Alvin Lucier, North American Time Capsule, 1967, for voices, and Sylvania Electronic Systems Vocoder. Boy, is that 60s avant-garde dated thing, isn't it? John Cage, solos for voice 2. Robert Ashley, She Was a Visitor. Toshio Ichiyanagi, extended voices for voices and Moog synthesizer with bronchial dilator and electronic modular heart-lung machine. No, it's something like that. It's Martin Feldman, a couple pieces of him, Christian Wolff in Cambridge, and Koros and Instruments too. Of course, it doesn't have one of his big, late works. This is early Feldman, but that's even more interesting for that reason. Then Yanis Xenakis, we're on disc 8. Akrata for 18 wind instruments. David Del Tredici's Syzygy for soprano and orchestra. This is before Del Tredici got into the Alice stuff, all the tonal goodies. Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, Zyklus for a percussionist. John Cage, Fontana Mix and Feed. Usually it's aria and Fontana Mix, but this was before the aria met the Fontana Mix. And then George Crumb's Lux Aeterna for 5 masked musicians with Phyllis Brynjolfsson and all these famous people, the Penn contemporary players under Richard Warnick, and they're just also avant. It's incredible. The avant-gardosity of this just blows my mind. It really does. Then we've got more masterworks of the 20th century. Bülent Arel, Stereo Electronic Music No. 1. Well, that's an honest title, isn't it? Halim Al-Dab, Layla and the Poet, and then Usachevsky. People know who he is. Prologue, Enuma Elish, from 3 Scenes from the Creation. Milton Babbitt, composition for synthesizer. That's an honest title too, isn't it? Davidovsky, Electronic Study No. 1. He was famous for doing electronic stuff. Otto Luning, Gargoyles. I like that. I always did. Milton Babbitt, Ensembles for synthesizer, which sounds an awful lot like composition for synthesizer. Are you surprised? Then we've got more. Boulez, Sonatina for flute and piano. Roman Haubenstock Ramati, Interpolation, Mobile for flute 1, 2, and 3. Bruno Moderna, Oboe Concerto. Okay, well, Moderna was a major guy. Luigi Nono, Y su sangre ya viene cantando, which is an epitaph. It's based on Lorca poetry, of course. It's and your blood already comes singing. That's something like that. Luciano Berio, Serenade 1 for flute and 14 instruments. And this is with the soloists of the Rome Symphony under Bruno Moderna doing this stuff, which is really cool. So there you have it. I really think this is mostly wonderful. I have to tell you, I really do. Not just the stuff of the major composers, but as a sampling of what was going on. And it was issued with no fanfare or information, and it contains no information, and it was deleted with no information. It's as if it had never existed at all, which is exactly the way the major labels treat their contemporary music offerings. Of course, it costs money. I get it. They're not charities. We've talked about this a million times, and they issued it, but they are going to bother to release it. They should at least give you the minimum amount of information you need to make sense of what's going on, and also tell people about it. There's a thought. Maybe that's the most contemporary aspect of all of it. It's music that no one discusses. And what could be more avant-garde than that? I ask you. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.